Ever wondered what New Year's Eve looked like for your grandparents? You might be shocked to learn that less than 1% of Americans still practice any of the traditions common just 50 years ago. In this video, we're going to take you on a journey through time, unveiling 12 once-beloved New Year's traditions that have vanished from modern celebrations. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. 12. Guy Lombardo's New Year's Eve. Legacy. Remember Guy Lombardo? For decades, his New Year's Eve broadcasts were a hallmark of the holiday, right up there with the ball drop in Times Square. From the 1930s to the 1970s, millions of Americans tuned in to Ring in the New Year with Guy and his Royal Canadians. And picture this. It's December 31st, 1965. Families across the nation gather around their TV sets, eagerly awaiting the familiar strains of Auld Lang Syne. The atmosphere is electric as Guy Lombardo and his orchestra fill living rooms with the sounds of big band music. Today, most people under 50 have never even heard of Guy Lombardo. It's astonishing how quickly such a massive tradition faded away. At its peak, Lombardo's show captured an incredible 70% of the TV audience. As tastes changed in the 1970s, younger viewers started tuning out. Eventually, Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve took over as the new tradition. It's a perfect example of how our celebration styles have shifted over the years. 11. The vanishing sound of party horns. The story of New Year's Eve party horns reveals a surprising shift in our celebration habits. Remember Times Square at midnight, 1980. The air filled with honks and toots as revelers blew colorful paper horns. A tradition as old as the ball drop itself. Fast forward to today, and you'll notice those once ubiquitous noisemakers have largely disappeared. It's not your imagination. Sales of traditional party horns have plummeted in recent years. Why the change? Our tastes have evolved. Many of us now prefer quieter, more intimate New Year's gatherings. And when we do want to make a splash, we've traded those simple paper tubes for flashier alternatives. Confetti cannons and dazzling LED displays offer visual excitement without the ear-splitting racket. This shift in noisemakers reflects broader changes in how we ring in the new year. But party horns aren't the only tradition that's been transformed. Another time-honored New Year's custom has undergone its own surprising evolution. 10. The lost art of New Year greeting cards. Back in the 1980s, sending New Year cards was as much a part of the holiday season as hanging tinsel or sipping eggnog. People would spend hours selecting cards, penning heartfelt messages, and addressing envelopes to reconnect with friends and family, sharing hopes for the year ahead. These weren't ordinary cards. Vintage New Year greetings often featured elaborate designs, snowy winter scenes, dazzling fireworks, or charming illustrations of good luck symbols. Messages like, "Wishing you a prosperous year ahead" were carefully printed alongside these festive images. But times have changed. Since 2000, the greeting card market has shrunk by a whopping 20%. The culprit? Technology. E-cards allow us to send instant, customizable greetings with just a few clicks, while social media platforms let us broadcast New Year wishes to hundreds of friends simultaneously. No stamps or trips to the post office required. While digital greetings are convenient, they've also made our New Year's communication a bit more impersonal. Gone are the days of displaying dozens of cards on the mantelpiece. Now, our well wishes often get lost in a sea of social media posts. Our entire approach to holiday communication has shifted. As we bid farewell to the tradition of physical New Year's cards, we find ourselves embracing new ways to connect and celebrate. But this isn't the only custom that's undergone a transformation in recent years. 9. Midnight eggnog. toasts, a fading flavor. From greeting cards to glasses raised, our New Year's customs are evolving. One drink, however, is disappearing faster than you can say Auld Lang Syne, eggnog. Rewind to New Year's Eve, 1975. As the clock strikes 12, families across America raise their glasses, filled with a creamy, spiced concoction. Eggnog was the king of holiday toasts, a rich blend of dairy, eggs, and often a splash of rum or brandy. Served chilled with a sprinkle of nutmeg, it was the taste of celebration. But times have changed. Today, only about 20% of Americans indulge in eggnog during the holidays. Our tastes have shifted towards lighter, more refreshing options. Health-conscious revelers are swapping the heavy dairy drink for lower-calorie alternatives. And with the rise of craft cocktails, there are now endless festive options to choose from. Don't write eggnog's obituary just yet, though. While it may not be the star of the New Year's Eve show anymore, it still holds a special place in many hearts. Some families keep the tradition alive, whipping up small batches of homemade nog to honor holidays past. 8. The original Times Square ball drop. The iconic Times Square ball drop has become synonymous with New Year's Eve celebrations. But did you know it almost never happened? This beloved tradition has an intriguing history that might surprise you. In 1907, New York City sought a safer alternative to their New Year's fireworks display. Their solution, a 700-pound iron and wood sphere, illuminated by 100 electric bulbs, descending from the flagpole atop Times Tower at midnight. The idea caught on quickly. By the 1920s, thousands of people flocked to Times Square to watch the ball drop, and other cities began creating their own unique drops to mark the new year. Fast forward to 2007, exactly 100 years after the first drop, and the ball got a major upgrade. The new version? A dazzling LED ball weighing 12,000 pounds and covered in nearly 2,700 Waterford crystal triangles. This high-tech makeover created a more vibrant, colorful display, visible from greater distances, drawing even bigger crowds and turning the event into a global phenomenon. The evolution of the Times Square ball drop makes us wonder about other New Year's traditions. Speaking of which, you might be surprised to learn how one lost custom used to bring families together. 7. Family New Year's resolution journals. Back in the 1980s, families had a New Year's tradition that's hard to imagine in our digital age. Picture this, a cozy living room on New Year's Eve with everyone huddled around a leather-bound journal. Mom, Dad, and the kids would take turns writing down their hopes and dreams for the coming year. Eat healthier, Dad might scribble. Make the softball team, little Susie could add. But it wasn't all about individual goals. Families often set shared resolutions too, like take a camping trip together or volunteer at the local shelter. This ritual did more than fill pages. It created a sense of unity and shared purpose. There was something special about putting pen to paper that made those goals feel real and achievable. It was a moment for reflection and connection that's becoming increasingly rare in our fast-paced world. While some families still keep this tradition alive, it's fading fast. Sure, we have goal-setting apps and social media posts now, but they often lack the personal touch of those old journals. As this custom changes, it makes you wonder about the unique magic of sharing dreams and plans face-to-face, pen in hand. 6. New Year's Eve movie marathons in black and white. Remember when New Year's Eve meant gathering around the TV for a special movie marathon. Back in 1960, families would huddle close to their boxy television sets, eagerly awaiting the annual black and white film fest. Classic movies like It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol flickered across the screen, their grainy images adding to the nostalgic feel. These films, while Christmas-themed, often extended into New Year celebrations, becoming a cherished holiday tradition. But as color TVs became more common in the 1960s, everything changed. Families began to favor vibrant, colorful films over the old black and white classics. This shift marked the beginning of the end for those beloved New Year's Eve movie marathons. Fast forward to today, and our viewing habits have changed dramatically. With streaming services at our fingertips, we're no longer bound by network schedules. While this freedom is convenient, it's come at a cost. The communal aspect of gathering around the TV for a shared viewing experience has largely disappeared. The way we dress for New Year's Eve has changed too. Remember when people used to get all dolled up, even for house parties? Well, you won't believe what happened to that tradition. 5. Home parties in full formal attire. Tuxedos at home. It sounds crazy now, but there was a time when New Year's Eve house parties rivaled Hollywood red carpets. In the 1950s and 60s, these gatherings were a glamorous affair. Men sported sharp tuxedos, while women dazzled in floor-length gowns. It was all about celebrating in style and showing respect for the occasion. Fast forward to today, and you're more likely to see jeans and sweaters at a New Year's bash than bow ties and sequins. What caused this dramatic shift? Our society has embraced a more casual lifestyle overall. We've swapped formality for comfort, and many folks prefer low-key get-togethers to fancy affairs. This change in dress code reflects a broader transformation in how we celebrate and socialize. As our outfits have become more relaxed, so have our party vibes. We've traded elaborate home soirees for simpler gatherings, mirroring a general trend towards informality in our daily lives. The decline of formal New Year's attire isn't just about fashion. It's a window into how our social norms and values have evolved over time. While we may have lost some of the glamour of those bygone days, we've gained a more laid-back approach to ringing in the new year. 4. The fading chorus of Auld Lang Syne. As the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve, a familiar melody should fill the air. But in recent years, something's been missing from the chorus. What centuries-old tradition is slipping away, and why are fewer Americans able to sing along? Picture Times Square in the 1960s as thousands of voices joined together in a rousing rendition of Auld Lang Syne. The song's bittersweet lyrics about friendship and the passage of time perfectly capture the mood of the moment. But fast forward to today, and you might hear more confused mumbling than heartfelt singing. A recent survey found that only 36% of Americans can correctly sing the first verse of Auld Lang Syne. It's a stark reminder of how this beloved tradition has faded over time. The song, with lyrics penned by Scottish poet Robert Burns in 1788, spread far beyond Scotland's borders to become a global New Year's anthem. But as musical tastes have changed, so have our New Year's Eve soundtracks. These days, you're more likely to hear pop music countdowns and modern party anthems when the clock strikes 12. It seems the gentle reflection of Auld Lang Syne doesn't quite fit with our more upbeat celebrations. As this tradition slowly fades from our New Year's Eve festivities, it makes you wonder what other time-honored customs might be slipping away. 3. The disappearance of community New Year's parades. Remember New Year's Day parades in small-town America? Not too long ago, these celebrations were a highlight of the year, bringing entire communities together in a burst of creativity and local pride. Picture it, January 1st, 1975. The streets are packed with families braving the winter chill, eagerly awaiting the procession of colorful, homemade floats and the sound of marching bands. These weren't just fancy displays, they were a chance for neighbors to showcase their talents and celebrate their shared hopes for the year ahead. You'd see everything from giant papier-mâché footballs carrying the high school team to enormous cake floats advertising the local bakery. Each creation told a story about the town's history, current events, or dreams for the future. But today, these community parades have become a rare sight. Many towns that once held annual New Year's Day parades have either scaled back or stopped altogether. The reasons? A mix of rising costs, changing entertainment preferences, and a shift towards more private celebrations. As these parades have faded away, it's hard not to feel nostalgic for the days when entire towns would kick off the new year together. While some communities have found new ways to gather, there's something special about those old-fashioned parades that's tough to replace. It makes you wonder what other traditions centered around bringing people together have disappeared over the years. 2. Midnight ice skating, a frozen tradition thawed. Remember that hint about midnight celebrations? Picture this: gliding across a frozen pond under a starlit sky, surrounded by hundreds of revelers counting down to the new year. This magical scene was once a beloved tradition in many cities. But why did this enchanting celebration vanish? Back in the day, cities like New York and Chicago hosted massive midnight ice skating events. Thousands of people would flock to outdoor rinks, bundled up against the winter chill but buzzing with excitement. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the air filled with laughter, the scrape of skates on ice, and the tinkling of glasses raised in toast. Organizing these events was no small feat. City planners had to secure suitable rinks, set up festive lighting, and ensure safety measures were in place for all those eager skaters. It took real community effort and funding to pull off such a spectacle. But over time, this frosty tradition began to melt away. As cities grew and changed, so did our celebration styles. Safety concerns and logistical challenges arose, making these events harder to manage. Many people started preferring indoor parties or big public gatherings that didn't require special skills or risk embarrassing tumbles. Today, you're more likely to find people ringing in the new year at a flashy nightclub or watching fireworks from a rooftop bar. While these modern alternatives have their charms, it's hard not to feel a twinge of nostalgia for those magical midnight skates under the stars. As we've seen ice skating parties fade into history, it makes you wonder what other unique ways people used to celebrate the new year. 1. Fortune-telling, predicting the unpredictable new year. Ever wonder why your grandmother insisted on reading tea leaves every New Year's Eve? This wasn't just a quirky hobby, it was part of a rich tapestry of fortune-telling traditions that once defined how we approach the future. People would gather around palm readers, tarot cards, or crystal balls, eager to glimpse what the coming year might hold. Some even believed the shape of a walnut kernel could reveal their destiny. These rituals served a deeper purpose, providing a sense of control and hope as people set intentions and visualized a positive future. It was a way of coping with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But as our society became more skeptical and technology-driven, these mystical practices began to fade. Today, you're more likely to find people setting New Year's resolutions or using goal-setting apps than consulting a fortune teller. While these modern equivalents serve a similar purpose, they lack the mystical allure of traditional fortune-telling. As we've traded crystal balls for smartphones, it's worth reflecting on how our approach to the future has changed. Have we lost touch with the magic of possibility, or are we now more in control of our destinies?